All right, so on January 8th, I got off work and I came home, and in my email, I had a copyright claim on one of my old videos. And it always seems to be on my old videos, and it doesn't make that much sense. I mean, it was January 8th of 2017, and the video that they put a copyright claim on was from 12/15 of 2014. What in the world am I just now getting a copyright claim on this video for? It doesn't make that much sense. And it's not a copyright strike, it's just a claim, and they're going to put an ad on my video or whatever. But just interesting, they waited that long to put a copyright strike or copyright claim on my video. And whenever this happens, I always look into it. I've talked about how they did it with my Prince video, and it was super synced up to all kinds of stuff. They were showing me a bunch of the royalty stuff that I had been talking about. They gave my video on 22 Jumpstreet a copyright claim, and there was all kinds of weird things that had happened in regards to that. So the movie 22 Jumpstreet came out on June 13th, the 165th day of the year. If you write out 22 in Gematria, it equals 165. I put out my video on this movie and I was talking about the 88s and whatnot, but I put my video out on YouTube on November 19th, which was exactly 165 days before 22 Jumpstreet came out in the theaters or whatever. And the day that I put it out happened to be Henrietta Maria of France's birthday. And what's interesting about that is that she married Prince Charles or King Charles on 6/13, the same day that 22 Jumpstreet came out and whatever, the 165th day of the year. And it was even the video. So I put a video up about Prince. I think it was the day after he died or whatever. I think it was April 23rd. Actually, we'll look really quick. But if you went from my birthday to the day that they gave me this copyright strike or copyright claim, it was also a span of 165 days. There was all kinds of 165 syncing up. In Gematria, if you write out Scottish Rite equals 165. And think about that in regards to King Charles and whatnot. He was the son of King James, the guy who wrote the King James Bible, a Scottish king as well. And the Bible's totally based on Freemasonry, at least the King James one is. But anyway, there's been other videos that they've done this on, which I'll talk about the one that was previous to this one as well. But isn't it just kind of weird that I've had that video on there? I've had it on there since 12/15 of 2014, and on January 8th of 2017, I get a copyright claim on this video. Why didn't I get it before, So anyway, if you go from the day that I put the video out to the day I got a copyright claim, a span of 2 years, 24 days. And the whole video, the majority of the video is about Mitch Hedberg. There's a part about Smokey the Bear, because he has a joke about Smokey the Bear. And then I finish it off with a thing about Demetri Martin, who reminds me a lot of Mitch Hedberg because he has a lot of one-liners. But I also mention how he has this comedy skit, but it's all based in numbers. It's called If I, and I'll explain that in 1 second. But just wanted to point out what I was talking about in this video. They gave it a copyright claim 2 years, 24 days after I put it out. Mitch Hedberg, of course, born on 2/24. How interesting. If you look up Demetri Martin on Wikipedia, they even tell you he graduated from Yale University in 1995. Think about Yale and the Skull and Bones and whatever else, Yale. But they say during his time there, he wrote a 224-word poem about alcoholism as a project for a fractal geometry class, which became a well-known palindromic poem. And he actually shows the poem in this comedy skit that I talked about in my video. And he writes basically this poem that's all written in palindromes. Everything's in palindromes. But what are the odds? It's 224 pages. Mitch Hedberg, born on 2/24, and then I get this copyright claim 2 years, 24 days after I put the video out. Mitch Hedberg in Gematria equals 66 and 102. January 8th, the day I got the copyright claim, equals 66. His full name equals, the big way equals 153, which is interesting because of all these 153s I've been mentioning in regards to the Miami Dolphins and my uncle and whatnot. Talked about how he is synced up to the Flintstones and whatnot. Read out Flintstones, it equals 153. Jarvis Landry, the Miami Dolphins wide receiver, 153. Their quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, equals 153. I even just the other day read a news article about David Spade, another comedian or whatever. His full name, David Wayne Spade, equals 153. There's got to be something, I've talked about a lot about this Jesus theme as well. There's got to be something that I'm not seeing that connects to the miraculous catch of 153 fish. I did talk about the Miami Dolphins and possibly how it's foreshadowing the age of Aquarius, you know, the age after Pisces, and Jesus is supposedly associated with Pisces, the fish and whatnot. Anyway, I just want to play a clip of the first probably 5 minutes of this Demetri Martin If I. It'll probably get a copyright claim just for playing this. Hopefully not. But, I mean, just seriously, the things that he's saying in this, it is completely exactly what I'm talking about. He's talking about over-examining life and noticing all these patterns. And basically he takes the phrase, if I, and he goes through all of the meanings of if, and at the very end, he includes how the I, as in himself, fits into all of them things or whatever. But what are the odds, you know? What are the odds that I'm doing all of this stuff in regards to numbers, and then all of a sudden my video gets a copyright claim, and it's basically showing all of the things that I am doing, and then in this video, in this if I thing, he's basically saying that you shouldn't do that, but he's still going to do it anyway. And it makes me seem like a crazy person, and it makes him seem like a crazy person. But how crazy am I that I'm getting shown this video, you know what I'm saying, by getting a copyright claim? It's not that I'm crazy. I'm telling you, I feel like I'm either getting shown signs by the universe, God, whatever, or it is the Zionists and whatever who are manipulating something around me. They're doing some type of whatever. Thought police, you know, like in the book 1984. There's something crazy going on because I'm getting way too many signs. I've been getting them for a while, but I'm telling you lately it is bad. Like, my phone will like buzz for absolutely no reason. Earlier when I was making a video, no lie, I was talking about the Miami Dolphins. My phone just randomly buzzed, and I picked it up. I didn't have a new notification or anything. It was 1:42 in the morning. Miami Dolphins equal 142, you know? So, anyway, let's just play this clip. I just want to show you what it's a little bit about. I recommend going to watch this. Hopefully I'll leave the playlist link in the description. It's actually pretty interesting, I think, and I like the way that he presents it, whether he's a good guy, bad guy, whatever, you know. But let's just play this clip here.
The unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates said that over 2,000 years ago. And I agree with him. I would just add, man. The unexamined life is not worth living, man. Because that hits me here. But when you do examine life, can you go too far? How much is too much, man? That's the question I had to ask myself recently. Because in examining my life, I got carried away. See, some people are passionate about money or power. Other people are into sex or cats. While I like 3 of those things, my passion is for something less tangible. I love figuring things out. The process of exploring a possibility to discover something new, that's my passion. That's a simple pleasure I've enjoyed since I was a kid. But recently, things got complicated. That's what I want to talk about tonight. This is a story about what happens when one man's obsessive analytical mind goes too far and turns on itself. My story starts with one little word, if, and one medium-sized person, I. If I, the statement. If implying possibility. I implying Demetri. Because you see, it's in the if that I seem to have lost and then rediscovered the I. Put it another way, I figured, since I don't have a job or a girlfriend, much going on back in my flat, why not write an entire show about one word? If. But what does that word mean? Where does one find meaning in life? Dictionary. The Nerd's Bible. Hello, old friend. This dictionary is American, which means it's probably fat. Okay, let's look up the word. If has 5 meanings. These are the 5 chapters of my story tonight. Let's start at the beginning. If meaning in the event that. Okay? A sample sentence always helps. Let's do one. If I eat another brownie, I will have explosive diarrhea. Or in my case, when I was a child, if I was uncomfortable or insecure, I would escape into my mind. You see, I believe that every person has a lens through which they see the world. Each of us in this room has a unique lens. And that lens determines the meaning of everything you encounter. People, places, experiences, even simple objects. For example, I have a bottle of beer here. This is a bottle of Rolling Rock beer, an American beer that you might find in a bar or the linen closet of a depressed housewife. But it's more than that, depending upon your lens. An artist might look at this and see something green that's lit from the front and the sides. An ad executive might look at it and see the centerpiece of a billboard. A guy in a fraternity might look at it and then beat up somebody gay or brown. My point is, each lens is unique because it's derived from specific experience. I'm no exception. When I was a kid, I'd sit in class at school and I had trouble paying attention. My mind would wander. And I needed something to entertain myself, something to bring into class, to amuse myself. Sneak in my own reading. But it was never anything cool, like muscle books. Or sophisticated, like jugs. You know what I snuck into class? Puzzle books. Like this. Mensa presents Mighty Mind Busters. Yeah, that's what I'm sneaking in. I'm hiding this behind my notebook. While other kids are daydreaming about pecs and tits, in my head, it was very different.
All right, I was going to stop it there. But, you know, while I totally agree with some of the things that he's presenting in the video, which for sure, you look at the bottle, people have totally different perspectives and whatnot. And possibly there's just more to what he's saying, you know. But what are the odds that I get a copyright claim on a video that makes me want to go back and look at this video and re-examine the way that I am seeing things? You know what I'm saying? What are the odds of that? It's bigger than what he's even talking about in this video. And I feel like for some reason they want me to go and watch this and then think that I'm just over-examining things. But at the same time, I guess, do you see what I'm saying? I'm getting a copyright claim that wants me to go watch this, and it's all about over-examining things, and then the reason I'm even looking at it is because I'm over-examining things. You know, in regards to him going to Yale too, and his last name's Martin, possibly nothing. But isn't it interesting how much I've been talking about Geronimo, and I talked about how Geronimo, the Skull and Bones, supposedly stole his Skull and Bones or whatever. But out of all of the presidents, there's also a theory that the Skull and Bones stole Martin Van Buren's Skull and Bones as well. How interesting is that? Martin Van Buren, the only president, you know, his name's Martin, and I'm talking about Demetri Martin, and I've been making a bunch of videos in regards to Geronimo Allison. Yeah, I don't know. Just makes me wonder if there's some connection to there. So anyway, with all the 224 stuff, which interesting, that's the 55th day of the year. And in the very beginning of that skit, If I, he talks about the 5 meanings of if in the 5 chapters, possibly nothing once again. So, you know, it reminds me of a 55. But the interesting thing about 55 is if you write out 55, it equals 108. And if you write out 149, it equals 108. And if you write out Demetri Martin, it equals 149. And if you write out Skull and Bones, it equals 149. See, I mean, who knows? Possibly nothing, but it's all interrelated, you know? Anyway, in a non-leap year, if you go from February 24th to the day I got this copyright claim, a span of 318 days, a number that I just keep mentioning over and over, talk about how the second coming of Jesus Christ is mentioned 318 times in the New Testament. I've talked about Prince Charles being born on the 318th day in a non-leap year, and Princess Diana dying on 31/8. This number is connected to backwards pi. All kinds of stuff. In regards to the Miami Dolphins, I mentioned this as well. So interesting that it's a span of 318 days. I'm telling you, these copyright claims are no coincidence. They're happening at a certain time for a certain reason. Even on Wikipedia, in regards to Mitch Hedberg, they even tell us that on 10/12/2004, a few months before his death, he sat in with Robin Quivers on the Howard Stern show. You know, just interesting. 10/12, which I also talked a lot about. 10/12, sometimes 10 months, 12 days is 318 days. I mentioned all of this in previous stuff in regards to the Dolphins and Dan Marino. Interesting too, in this video, I talk about one of Mitch Hedberg's jokes, and he says that his favorite number is 4 billion, and then, you know, he's just kind of weird, and he says, divided by 6, snake eyes, or whatever. And if you take 4 billion and you divide it by 6, you get 666,666.666 with a line over it, basically. So, just interesting, you mentioned snake eyes, all the 666 references. Also, in this video that I'm talking about, they got copyright claim, I'm talking about his comedy skit, Strategic Grill Locations. And the reason that's super interesting is because it was recorded in Houston, of all places, you know, where the Super Bowl is going to be played. And it was recorded on 9/7/1999. That's Dan Marino's last season of the NFL. We're in the 97th season of the NFL. Miami Dolphins equal 97. And it was recorded in Houston. You know, that's some pretty weird stuff. The date numerology of that being recorded, 9 + 7 + 99 equals 115. 9/7 is the day that leaves 115 days in the year. Dan Marino's final game was on 1/15 of the year 2000. And if you go back and watch my Prince videos and whatnot, I was talking about being copyright claimed. The numbers they kept showing me over and over were 134, 135, and 165. And May 13th, 5/13, was the 134th day last year. And a lot of times 165 days is even 5 months, 13 days. But anyway, in regards to all these 115s, if you write out 134, it equals 115. If you write out 135, it equals 115. If you write out Scottish Rite Freemasonry, it equals 115. And remember, Scottish Rite equals 165. So I think it's clear who's doing this. Even the word Freemasonry, if you write out Freemasonry the small way, it equals 58. If you write out 58, it also equals 115. It's, for whatever reason, a special number to the Freemasons. 11, it reminds me a lot of November 5th, too. Remember the 5th of November. It's the time travel date in Back to the Future. If you do the reflection, it's 511. Saturn equals 511. Saturn, the keeper of time. Saturn, who a lot of these people worship and whatnot. So very interesting how all of this connects. The last time that I got a copyright claim then, and I mean, I've got a ton, and I've talked about pretty much every single one of them, but the last time that I got one was I made a video on this Mark Wahlberg film called The Truth About Charlie. And basically what I talked about, it's this old movie, and it's called The Truth About Charlie, and there's a map in the beginning of the movie. It's all about assassins and whatnot, ton of stuff, but in the very beginning of the movie, they show this map that pretty much shows you where Charlie Hebdo is. So just interesting. And Charlie Hebdo was super synced up to the Paris attacks and all kinds of other stuff, The Paris attacks happened on November 13th of 2015, whatever. A whole bunch of 113 and 311 in them stories. Paris, France equals 56. ISIS equals 56. I talked about all kinds of stuff. Team America, everyone has AIDS, and the terrorist attack in Paris, and the South Park people all super synced up to 56. Even talked about Kanye West and how he had an ISIS-looking clothing line, and he had a shirt that said "Pray for Paris" in 2012. Of course, Kanye West equals 56. Kim Kardashian equals 56. Their kid Nori equals 56. A whole bunch of 56 around him. He even said he's going to run for president in 2020. President equals 56. 56, super special number. It really is. I mean, royal family equals 56. King James Bible equals 56. Osama bin Laden, Adolf Hitler, Saddam Hussein all equal 56 in Gematria. ISIS equals 56. But I guess moral of the story, don't want to go off on a big tangent, but I got a claim on this old video from 2014 about the truth about Charlie, and I got it on 9/1 of 2016. The date numerology that I got that claim, 9 plus 1 plus 20 plus 16, 46. The date numerology I got this new claim, 1 plus 8 plus 20 plus 17, 46. The video I put out on the truth about Charlie, I guess it was on January 30th of 2015. It was a span of 1 year, 7 months, 3 days before they put a claim on it. If you read out 115 in Gematria, it equals 173. If you go from, so I put out my Truth About Charlie video January 30th, 2015, and I put out the Mitch Hedberg video 12/15 of 2014. I put them videos out 46 days apart. Also, 1 month, 15 days apart. How interesting is that? They're my last 2 copyright claims. Houston, Texas equals 46 to Gematria. You know, just interesting. I get a copyright claim on both of them on date numerologies of 46. I put them out 46 days apart. And Houston, Texas equals 46. That's what I've been talking a whole lot about in regards to the Super Bowl that's being played there this year. Talked about the moon symbolism and, you know, the space symbolism in regards to Houston. In the video about Mitch Hedberg, I also mentioned Sam Elliott, and I even say I could probably do a whole video on Sam Elliott, whatnot. But he's the cowboy guy, wanting to drink the sarsaparilla or whatever in The Big Lebowski. And we had the death of David Huddleston, The Big Lebowski, something I've super covered in regards to whatever, a lot of things. Even it might be connected to the Packers, you know. He had the Cubs hat in that in the movie King Ralph, and then he was wearing the Packers shirt or whatever. So, and then of course they go to Ralph's in The Big Lebowski. I'm talking about John Goodman. I'm sorry if I'm getting you lost, but lots of information to remember. Anyway, though, Sam Elliott also portrays Sam Houston in a different film, and it also on Wikipedia it says that he narrated the Pittsburgh Steelers and Green Bay Packers team introductions in Super Bowl, whatever that is, XLV 35, actually 45, Super Bowl 45. So just interesting, he narrated the team introductions for the Packers and the Steelers, and it was played in Cowboy Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Whenever I think of Sam Elliott, a lot of people probably think of Tombstone. My first thought is the movie Mask with Cher, and who knows why, but that's seriously, I really used to like that movie Mask, and that's the first thing I think of when I think of him, other than Ghost Rider, which I think is one of the worst movies of all time. I don't know. I used to make fun of it constantly because it's just, I seriously think Ghost Rider is a horrible movie, but whatever if you like it. But anyway, in the movie Mask with Rocky Dennis, I swear to you, I never realized that Rocky Dennis is played by Eric Stoltz. And Eric Stoltz was the guy who was originally casted as Marty McFly or whatever in Back to the Future. So I don't know the full connection, but just interesting as much as I talk about Back to the Future. And that's the first thing I think of when I think of Sam Elliott. He was also recently on the TV show called Parks and Recreation. And remember the 114th episode? They go into the future and the Cubs win the World Series and whatnot. The 114th episode talked about how the Cubs were in their 114th season being called the Cubs. They won the World Series this year on Game 7, but they got their 114th win in Game 7. Talked about the Hoboken train wreck and how it synced up to the tie against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tie equals 114 in Gematria. The last time there was a tie was in 2005 when the Chicago White Sox won the World Series against Houston. And Houston was the team in that year who got a tie 114 days before the World Series. Anyway, the most recent episode that Sam Elliott has been on that show was called Two Funerals That Equals 46. You know, who knows? Show me a lot of 46 and 115. Makes me think the gang, the Freemasonry people, are the ones who are manipulating these things in regards to what I keep showing, all these copyright claims. So last night, I guess at 3:11 in the morning is what I wrote on here, I typed in Mitch Hedberg, Miami, because there's been so many Miami things. And on his Wikipedia, it says he even got his start in Florida. So I thought, I don't know exactly where, it just says Florida. Typed in Miami. I typed that in on Yahoo, and on the first thing of searches, it actually came up with my video. Mitch Hedberg, Part 2, Smokey the Bear. And then it talks about Miami Dolphins, Keon Carpenter, and whatnot. Like, what are the odds? I even have a part 1 of this video. Why didn't that one show up? Why is the one that got copyright claims show up? I mean, seriously, like, look at this on YouTube. I have 2 videos. Mitch Hedberg, whatever. B is 13HH. Mitch Hedberg, part 2. So when I type in that on a search engine, why does only part 2 come up? Why would the one that just gets copyright claim come up with Miami stuff of anything, you know? Like, why didn't part 1 come up? That doesn't make that much sense to me. Possibly I just don't understand how it works or whatever, but I never tagged these 2 videos together. You know, there's nothing that's connecting these videos except for what I am talking about, right? What I've recently been talking about, then this one gets copyright claim, and there's got to be some connection between the Miami stuff, and that's got to be why they didn't put the number 1 in there, you know? It just doesn't make that much sense. Number 1 wouldn't pop up if anything of mine is going to pop up. Also, you know, just pointing it out, I didn't even know gematria back in these days. And it was in, what, the end of 2014? I knew, like, a very small amount of gematria. That's why I talked about the HH was 88. I saw a lot of number patterns. I saw a lot of celebrities dying at, you know, years that were multiples, you know, like 22, 33, 44, 55. It seemed like every time I looked somebody up, they always died at an age like that or something along the lines of that. And there was a connection between 88 and the number 37 that I was following for a really long time. Had nothing to do with gematria, just noticing number patterns. And when I realized HH was 88, it's right around the time when I started actually learning gematria. Then somebody told me, hey, go to Zachary K. Hedberg's channel. He's showing how this is coded in the media. And I showed how it was all synced up to my life. And I thought, weird stuff, you know. And whatever, I've been following him ever since. But this was at the end of 2014. And it wasn't even about gematria. Just wanted to point that out. It was number patterns, though. So I guess, anyway, I just want to finish it off on one other thing that I learned from seeing this search. Said a fan just paid the perfect tribute to Mitch Hedberg for his 48th birthday, something about a donut. I didn't even click on it, but his 48th birthday I thought was interesting for the fact my copyright claim came 48 days before what would have been his 49th birthday. So he was 48 years old in this copyright claim, or he would have been 48 years old when I got this copyright claim, and it was 48 days before his birthday. So, gotta leave it at that, you know? Just proving yet again that somehow something is being manipulated around me. They're doing this, and it's always syncing up to things that I'm talking about. It's syncing up to my own personal life. I'm not making it do that. That's just really what is truly happening. They're giving me copyright claims at certain times to make it fit, because I swear they know that I'm going to look it up. But yeah, peace. Gotta work. I gotta work tomorrow, so gotta go to bed. Have a good one. If I find out more, if I figure out more, I'll let you guys know.